Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Virtual Travel Escapes. We appreciate you taking some time out this afternoon and joining us on our little webinar series where we've been featuring different destinations and experiences, from around the world to help keep all of our travel dreams alive and perhaps give you a little inspiration of where you want to plan on going next. I'm Rhonda Smien, the Leisure Manager at Paul Travel, and my beautiful, as always, co-host, Julie Bekdash. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Rhonda, and hi, everyone. And thank you. I should say you are my beautiful co-host as well. I never did that.
As a reminder to everybody, I know we have a few new people joining us today and a lot of repeat viewers. So thank you so much for all your support over the last, I think we're up to 16, 17 months. It's been quite something, and we've been really enjoying sharing with you some amazing places from around the world and getting all your feedback. So keep the feedback coming. We love hearing from you. Now, if you've missed any of our previous webinars, please go to our website. So that's paultravel.com/webinars. You will see a list of all of the previous presentations that we've done. So take a look there, and you might find something that will be inspiring to you. Now, also, too, I just wanted to kind of let you know, we're taking a bit of a break, a little bit of a summer break, Julie and I. We will be returning in August with more webinars and some great destinations to showcase. So kind of keep a watch on your newsletters that we're sending out, or even on our website where you can register. So we're definitely not ending this, but we're just taking a little bit of a break. So today, we're going to explore the beautiful country of New Zealand and just give you a little taste of what there is to do and explore and really experience. I know that there's going to be a lot of questions potentially out there. So if you have anything that you want to even comment or question, just put it in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And Julie's going to monitor it throughout the presentation, and she'll make sure that any questions that you have will be answered. So don't be shy there. Gosh, I know New Zealand is such a popular destination, especially for us Canadians. I think, some of my travelers have said that it resonates a little bit with Canada with them, and they just love exploring. And, it's one of those places that a lot of people will add on when they're traveling to Australia, to kind of do the combination, but it really deserves a trip on its own. And you can spend a little time and really explore from the north to the south. So today, I think you're going to get a really good idea of what there is to do. Now, Julie, I think you've been to New Zealand. I haven't had the opportunity, but I know you have. Yeah. Did you love it?
Oh my goodness, I loved it so much. I feel like everywhere you turn was, a different site. It was so beautiful. I wanted, you want to take a million pictures, and also the people. Every store you go into, you say hi. They notice you're not from there, and then they want to know where you're from and chit chat, and it's just really genuine. And it felt, a little like home away from home. So yeah. I'd love to know if anyone's been. Let us know in the chat, or if you're planning on going, we'd love to know. But I will introduce our speaker. So today with us is Kim McVicker, and she's joining us from New Zealand, from the North Island on the very east coast. And I've actually been to Gisborne. I didn't tell you that.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, it was really special because a lot of people, I think, go down the coast. There's a lot to see. So, thank you so much for joining us from Tourism New Zealand.
Yeah,
I'll hand the presentation over to you. So feel free to share your screen anytime, and I'll stay here for any questions.
Yeah, great. And thank you very much, Rhonda and Julie, for introducing me and sharing your passion for New Zealand. I do resonate with that. I spent a bit of time in Canada myself, mainly in Whistler mountain biking during New Zealand's winters. And I find Kiwis really similar to Canadians. So it was a really comfortable kind of, trip over there, and you just feel part of something kind of bigger. And Yeah, no, it's wonderful. So thank you all for joining. It's late afternoon where you are. It's morning where I am. So I've got a cup of tea, and I will share my screen. But again, as we mentioned, any questions, please ask away. I just want to double check that that's looking full screen for you, Rhonda.
Yep, it looks great.
Yeah, great. And again, thank you for joining and taking the time to learn about New Zealand. As you all know, and unfortunately we are still in this position, I'll just get it out of the way to start with. Where the borders are currently still closed to non-New Zealand nationals, but we are hopeful as the New Zealand vaccine rolls out that will change and hopefully come towards, I want to say around April, May of next year potentially. So again, we don't have a firm date, but that may answer a few questions, and we cannot wait, as Julie mentioned. Kiwis love chatting. We cannot wait to welcome you back here and chat and ask who you are, where you are, where you're from, why you chose New Zealand for your holiday. So again, thank you for taking the time this afternoon. I hope you have some wine to sit back and learn a bit more about what your trip to New Zealand could look like. So today I talk quite fast, so I'll slow myself down. We'll go over a few different things about New Zealand. So why would you choose New Zealand? The North Island, the South Island, and then touch on a few kind of different aspects of New Zealand which may resonate with you. So a bit more about why and accommodation and adventure. Questions at the end or throughout. So just pop them in the question and answer box, and any type of question or even a story you had whilst you're in New Zealand, what you loved or what you've heard about New Zealand. So yeah, really excited to share more with you. So a little bit about me. I'm going to introduce myself the traditional Māori way. So kia ora koutou katoa, ko tarawera te maunga, ko roto i te roto, ko Rotorua nui ahau, ko McVicker toku whānau, ko Kim toku ingoa. So what I said is, where I grew up, my mountain was Mount Tarawera. My lake was Lake Rotoiti, which is a lake on the side here. It's an amazing lake surrounded by geothermal hot pools and fishing, and it's just a beautiful lake. My hometown is Rotorua, which you can see down here, and with the island in the middle. And my name is Kim McVicker. So again, I can't wait to actually introduce you to a bit more of the New Zealand culture and language throughout this webinar. And we're going to start with a very important word called kia ora. So kia ora is how we welcome each other here. Kia ora, and it's kind of hard to say because you've got to roll your R's. But if you're like my mum, you can say kia ora, and that's still fine. So let's learn a bit more about that word and what it means to New Zealand.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
When I say kia ora to somebody, it's an obvious acknowledgement to them. It is the hello for us in Māori.
Kia ora. Kia ora.
Kia ora. It's friendly. You've got no enemies here.
It's really important to acknowledge a person. By using the word kia ora, we acknowledge not just them, but everything about them. Where they come from, who they come from. And that's a big one, who they come from.
Kia ora, auntie. Kia ora, uncle. Kia ora, Kiwi Bird.
Kia ora. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
I'm saying it on behalf of my family, past and present, and the community, welcoming you.
When she gets known, the phrases vary, the context varies, but the words are still the same.
Hey, kia ora, welcome on board.
We have a saying, he iti te kupu, nui te kōrero. And what they're saying is, although the word is only small, the meaning is great. You know, it's massive.
Kia ora. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Kia ora to us means good health. As Māori, when we were born, we're born as kaitiaki. And kaitiaki means guardian. And we're guardians of the whenua, of the land, and guardians of people. That's the manaakitanga that you're going to give to the people. Manaakitanga means to be looked after. Our thing is to go above and beyond of looking after people, looking after the land.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
We don't get up and say what street we come from. We talk about our mountains, we talk about our rivers, our oceans. The worldview we have, the land and everything upon it is our older sibling. For us, that's why we have so much respect for the land, for nature. That's why all our designs come from nature. It's that whole cycle, you know, it's that whole life force that mauri, that ora.
Kia ora is such a beautiful word. It's got such a wonderful meaning.
It comes from the heart. It's not just lip service, no matter who says it.
Have a go, be brave, say the word kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Kia ora. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Awesome. So I hope for some of you, you can practice saying that word, because when you do arrive in New Zealand, the more you say kia ora, the more people look at you a bit like, oh, you know what that means. So that's a little challenge for you. Really easy. Kia ora. Kia ora. Again, it may sound easy. It's sometimes not. So I'll continue on. So why New Zealand? So as you can see here, actually, we're quite proud of this. This location of water is in Auckland, and we recently just retained the America's Cup out here in the Waitemata Harbour. So again, proud of our achievements for a small country. We offer bespoke experiences, again, which as Julie's mentioned, you meet warm and inviting people along the way. We have an array of lodges and landscapes, and again, they're not all just luxury lodges. There's a whole mixture from glamping and camping to hotels, motels, and also luxury lodges for those of you who want to do an entire trip in lodges or even just one special night. It's and again, they're just placed in the most amazing spots throughout the country. We've already talked a lot about people embracing and want to know who you are, where you're from, what's this thing I hear called poutine, how do I get some of that, all those kind of questions. And there's an amazing playground to explore, whether that be going for a walk, anywhere you drive in the country, you pull over and there's a half-hour walk, which is well laid out for you. So they're not all, again, helicopter rides, but for that odd treat, it may just top your trip off. This is a bit more detail about kind of our domestic route, but I will touch on the international routes. Currently I think we had 7 kind of direct flights to New Zealand from North America. And again, due to COVID, that has changed and it will continue to evolve over the next 6 to 8 months. We are really hopeful though that the Vancouver route will pop back online again. As to when, we're still unsure of, but we're pretty confident we're going to have a LAX, SFO and Vancouver, which is a key connector for us to help you all get over here. So it's about a 12-hour flight, so it is decent. Most flights arrive into Auckland early morning, so around 6 a.m. So it's an overnighter, which makes it a little bit easier. But this map shows you how once you're in the country, you can travel throughout New Zealand. And again, there's an array of options. This one shows the flying time. So the longest flight in New Zealand is 2 hours. Our domestic airports are really easy to navigate. You don't take your shoes off. It's all very easy to walk on through and hop on a flight to the lower South Island like Queenstown in 2 hours. Driving is also a great option. And a lot of people like driving because New Zealand is one of those places where you can kind of pull over and explore those little hidden secrets. We've heard about that cafe, and you want to have the flexibility to be able to pop in and check out what it's all about. So driving is a great option depending on your time frame. So you may do half of the trip driving, the other half flying. But people do underestimate the length of time it takes to drive in New Zealand. So again, when you are putting that trip together or talking to your advisor about that, just chat through those options. Another thing is campers and RVs. They're a great way for visitors to get around. And we've seen, when COVID happened, Kiwis were a bit complacent in New Zealand. I think we just think it's New Zealand and we'll go there one day. The amount of Kiwis who got campers and cruised around the country was amazing. And I think the flexibility it allows you is you can always be somewhere and stay somewhere. There's amazing campsites on the edge of oceans, on the edge of lakes, beautifully equipped for camper van holidays too. And again, you can go out, you can do what you want. You can go out for dinner if you choose to. You can have one night in. It's a great option if you have time up your sleeve and you do want to get a little bit off the beaten arrow. When to visit. Now, how dare I include American temperatures in here? But actually right now, it's 18 degrees where I am, and I am on the east coast of New Zealand. So I'm not in my hometown of Rotorua. I'm 3 hours east, and it's 18 degrees and it's midwinter. What are we? 23rd of July. I'm a day ahead of you guys, so I know the future. So our winters aren't hardly near anything on yours. So that's just really clear to point out. But one thing about New Zealand is it's kind of all temperatures. Prepare for all conditions. It can be a beautiful summer's day, and then you could have a random storm come through, and then it's warm again. So again, I know you want to kind of choose your vacation relative to what's going on. So Canadian winter maybe, but just remember we're a very different climate to you, and our winters are not very cold. I was in Queenstown a couple of weeks ago, and there was snow to ground level, and it happens once a year. Unlike the situation some of you find yourselves in where it's months on end. So just reiterating, New Zealand in the winter is pretty good option also. I'm now going to pop into a bit more about the North and the South Island. And again, any questions that pop up, please let me know as I'm just chatting away. So again, people ask the question, what's the difference between the North and the South? It's really hard to describe. And I think as Rhonda mentioned, people often tack on New Zealand to an Australia trip because they think it's much smaller and it's just little old New Zealand, but actually it's difficult to give it justice in terms of time frames. So if part of me, I get questions a lot saying, well, how should I split my time? I've got 10 days. I want to do the North and the South. And I just want to say, just pick one and do it really well, and then come back to the other. Or pick one and do 6 days of driving, and then the next day, next South Island, you're flying to save that driving time. So again, I want to say spend a month here. Well, for some of you that's possible, and some it's not. So it's just that balance of how you want to experience and what your interests are. So the North Island, much warmer, more populated, I guess a lot more cultural experiences too, and a bit more kind of vibing and like funky big cities like Wellington and Auckland. So we'll start here. We're far up north here. So Auckland, we've gone north already to the very top of New Zealand, which is the Bay of Islands and Northland. And as you can see, just stunning. And on a day like today, it'll be just like this. 3.5 hours drive from Auckland. And again, these are for people who have the time up their sleeves to do these experiences and take the time to go driving up north. You can also fly from Auckland to Kerikeri. Amazing culture, the home of the Treaty of Waitangi, which is a huge significant cultural declaration that was signed many years ago about how Māori and English will live together and what that looks like. So a lot of culture far up north, and beaches, endless beaches, pretty quiet in terms of visitors, just a nice, easy space to kind of get away. On a day like today, midwinter, you'll find people on the beach, probably sunbathing. We come a little bit south now. So again, Auckland, the gateway to New Zealand. We're back on the harbour where we won the America's Cup. I can't help but just throwing that in a couple of times. And again, this is where all the international flights will arrive into. So a really neat, funky town, and easy to navigate. It's a great place if you are into kind of the culture and the vibe of town and shopping and dining out and restaurants. Just spend a couple of days if you choose to, if you're interested in that kind of thing. Otherwise, if you want to get out to smaller regions, it could be you land at 6 a.m., get to your next location, which may be Queenstown, and then you kind of rest for that afternoon to give yourself that time to kind of acclimatise, have a bit of rest. But if you are staying in Auckland for a couple of days, Waihi Island is an amazing offering. So it's about a half an hour ferry ride from downtown Auckland, and it gets you out to an amazing island, which is full of wineries. So what better way to check into your hotel early, hop on a ferry, and then cruise over to Waihi Island, where you get to kind of start your wine experience of New Zealand. So it's a really great option for that first day in Auckland if you're feeling okay. And again, wineries galore, amazing eateries, but also a bit of adventure in there if you feel like you want to get out and kind of wake up a bit. This is quite a quick movement through the country, but I just want to allow time for questions. Moving further, so probably 1.5 hours from Auckland is Hobbiton, and I'm sure you've all watched Lord of the Rings. amazing movie series. And what happened is this kind of piece of farmland, well, it was originally a farm, and so Peter Jackson flew over in a helicopter, saw these kind of rolling hills, and was like, that sounds pretty good. So he built his set, and then the farmer said to him, can I keep your set that you've built for the movie and kind of do something with it? And we have Hobbiton, which is just incredible. I can't get over how every day, I've been there a few times now, every day the set is made perfect. So the little houses, like this little one with the blue door, will have a fire going, there's clothes on the line, there's fruit in the baskets outside. It just feels alive like it was in the movie. And you've got an amazing tour guide with you who will walk you through. You can ask as many questions as you want to. And I think the beauty is not everyone has to be die-hard fans to actually kind of be blown away. You just think you're driving to a farm, and then all of a sudden this world pops up around you and it's alive every day, which is just stunning. Waitomo Caves, this is a bit of a strange one. So this is about, I want to say another hour from Hobbiton. This I'm kind of explaining this as to how you may make your way down the country. So Waitomo Caves is an underground playground for kind of amazing glowworm experiences. As you can see, the they're kind of blue here, but they're called glowworms. And actually what the guy's pointing at is the worm's bum. That's what's glowing. We're pretty lucky to have glowworms here in New Zealand. They're not everywhere, and they like being around kind of moist, rocky kind of surfaces. So again, perfect for anyone. You can go and experience the Waitomo Caves like this in a boat and kind of get talked to about the history of the caves and why they're there. Or on the other image, you'll see someone kind of walking through amazing cave layout underground, and they've rappelled or abseiled down into the caves, and now they're exploring it a bit further. So amazing way to experience underground part of New Zealand, which you actually will not find anywhere else in the country. You can see here I had a bit of fun with my templating. So Rotorua, my hometown. Again, the image in this pit in the marae in the middle is the picture behind me. If you can still see me, I'll move over a bit. This is 2 minutes from where I grew up, and as a child, I went to many school camps here. I went to a little local school, and we would our holiday, our school trip would be to stay in the marae, which is pretty amazing. So again, Rotorua is the home of culture, the home of experience, and kind of all there is to kind of learn about culture, from cooking to protocols to the past and what's happened and how things are kind of merging and becoming closer. And it's not, I guess it's not feeling, it's feeling more united, I think the country is feeling, in terms of incorporating culture into everyday life. So it's a really neat experience to experience culture in New Zealand, but in Rotorua, there's many of different ways to do that. Again, on the left-hand side at Rotorua, home to adventure, from zip lining like we are here, through to whitewater rafting, through to ogos, which are rolling down, we might think of them as a zorb, rolling down a hill in a ball, inflatable ball, which sounds bizarre, but it's amazing. But also home to geothermal, as you can see on the right-hand image here. This is at Waimangu, and it's kind of, as you know, Rotorua is covered in these amazing geothermal, well, not just Rotorua, New Zealand, geothermal hotspots. And this is a perfect example of a pool which kind of empties and fills and does amazing things with that beautiful turquoise colour. So if you want to experience culture, a bit of adventure, and a bit more about the kind of nature and geothermal, Rotorua has it all. Hawke's Bay, moving on pretty quickly. We are now, where I am in Gisborne, we are now 3 hours south of where I am. So again, in the middle, you've got those beautiful albatross birds looking at you. They are just amazing, and they're Cape Kidnappers, and they are just fun and bizarre and noisy, but an amazing experience to get out there and experience them. Again, Hawke's Bay is famous for wine, famous wine region, famous for Sav. I hope you all enjoy a bit of Sav every now and then. And I'm sorry, my image on the right isn't very amazing, but it's a bit blurry actually. But this is showcasing the Art Deco culture in Hawke's Bay and how it came to be. And again, you can go and do these amazing tours in Hawke's Bay, which the main town is Napier. And you can get all dressed up in this Art Deco clothing and walk throughout the town and have a tour of the amazing area with all its traditional buildings that have been rebuilt following quite a big earthquake many years ago. So this art culture kind of theme, Art Deco culture, has kind of really resonated, and you're just walking down the road and people are dressed up and they're in these old cool cars having the time of their lives, kind of immersifying themselves back in the nature. So very exciting. And finally, finishing the North Island, we are in Wellington, which is our capital city. So again, like Auckland, lots of amazing restaurants, very not busy, but very like kind of a great town for shopping, or to immersify yourself within that kind of culture. Importantly, I put a picture up here of a big boat. So that's our inter-islander ferry, and there's a couple of boats which will transport you and your camper, your RV or your car across to the South Island. So if you choose to drive, this is where you will drive to. You'll hop on a ferry for 3.5 hours and you'll end up in the South Island. So that's an option there for many of you thinking to do north and south. And so it's a beautiful 3.5 hour crossing, and you arrive into Picton, which is at the very top of the South Island. So I thought I'd include that. And now we're in the South Island, and don't let this image scare you. I know it's a bit out there. But again, I just want to reiterate, the South Island, the differences here, the South Island, everything's a bit bigger. Everything's a bit more, not extreme, but bigger mountains, bigger weather, smaller towns compared to the North Island, but just in terms of scale, everything's a little bit bigger. But we'll start our time here. We're on Nelson Able Tasman. So we're in the very top of the South Island, how dare I. And a few of you may have been here. It's a pretty famous little spot, and this rock over here, excuse me, it's called Split Apple Rock, and it's a great little it's a great paddle. You kayak around it, you can go on boat tours, but it's all part of the Able Tasman track, which I would say for those of you who are kind of into hiking, it's a relatively easy but beautiful experience, and you can do that in many ways. You can have a tour guide with you, and you can do 5Ks of the track. You could do the whole 3 days of the trek and stay in accommodation along the way. So it's kind of, I guess, one of New Zealand's nicer walks in terms of the accommodation offering. Amazing. I was there probably February, March this year, and it felt like I was in Fiji. The color of the water, I was like, this is incredible. So again, if any of you are interested, talk to your advisor, and they can always touch base with me and double check. So plenty of information we have. Again, natural springs, natural hot pools. There are activities you can do as part of an organised group. Again, you can go and experience this beautiful spring over here on the right-hand side, which is an easy 10-minute walk, which you just kind of pull off the side of the road into. Moving again further south, but we're on the east coast of the South Island now. We're in Christchurch. Christchurch is stunning, and it's actually a city that kind of continues to outdo itself. As many of you know, I want to say about 10, 12 years ago, excuse me, there was quite a big earthquake, and it's just a town which kind of has has had a few big events in the past, but it just continues to rise above them, and the offering there is incredible. And we often, call Christchurch the gateway to the south, because it's kind of where you can go in any direction depending on what you want to do there. So if you were, for example, driving the North Island and then flying into the south, Christchurch could be where you start that journey. And again, it's known for amazing wildlife experiences. The kind of Southern Traverse, so the mountain range, which kind of divides the east coast and the west coast, sits right there behind this balloon, actually. But you're kind of on the east coast with really mild weather, and again, a really funky, vibrant new city, as they call themselves. Train options are quite small in New Zealand. We haven't quite caught up to you guys just yet, but we do have a couple of train options which get you both from Christchurch. So one gets you to the west coast, to a town called Greymouth, And the other option gets you from Christchurch north, so to Picton, where that ferry comes in. So again, you could ditch your car in Wellington, hop on the ferry, hop on a train and get all the way to Christchurch, where maybe you pick up another car or a camper or however you want to plan that trip. But now we're going to go kind of inland from Christchurch and we're going to check out Mount Cook. Now, this is our biggest mountain, which is pretty small, 3,724 meters. Pretty small compared to what you guys have going on over there, but we try, and again, Mount Cook is perfect for people who want to get out, great for walks, great for kind of getting out and doing different walks, from guided walks to over summer, kind of walking up some of these mountains, absolutely not the big one. But as you can see, it's just covered in amazing views. There's great accommodation options in there where you can go for you can stay in kind of 4-star accommodation, go out for a 6-hour walk, come back and kind of have mulled wine looking back out at these mountains, which is just incredible. And it's a beautiful scenic drive if you are making your way from Christchurch kind of through central South Island towards Wanaka or Queenstown. So we are quite proud of our biggest mountain in New Zealand, and whenever I fly, I try and look out for it. It's stunning. And then Queenstown. So we've kind of skipped a bit of the country. I'm sorry I can't go over everything, but Queenstown from Mount Cook, I want to say, is about a 3-hour drive. And they call it the adventure capital, but I don't want to get too hung up on the event. We cannot deny there's AJ Hackett Bungee in Queenstown, which is amazing. There's plenty of different ways, from jet boating to skydiving, which it can be considered adventure. But then Queenstown has this whole other side, which is really relaxed and mellow. And I think the thing about Queenstown is the views are just, anywhere you look, it's just outstanding. I said I was there about a month, 2 weeks ago, and you kind of, for me as a Kiwi, you kind of don't see those views very often, especially living in the North Island. So again, it has a range of experiences. In the middle here, this image is looking kind of south of Lake Wakatipu, which is the lake, and then towards Glenorchy. So what this tour will be about is they'll cruise on that beautiful road along the lake's edge and get to Glenorchy, where a lot of Lord of the Rings movies were filmed, in that kind of really mountainous part that you can see in the distance. So again, as simple as you want it to be, amazing dining options. People on the right, they may be going for a wine cycle tour, so they'll leave town, ride out to a vineyard, have a few wines, and then maybe if they want to, ride back or get a pickup if they've had too many wines. So plenty of options in Queenstown for anyone who wants a mixture of both. Finally, below Queenstown, I want to say a good 5 hours. The mountains make it look deceiving. It looks really close from a map, but you've got quite a few mountains to navigate, and we haven't quite got roads everywhere. So Milford is part of Fiordland National Park, which is New Zealand's biggest national park. Again, I was very fortunate to visit this. I had never been there before, and I got on the water here where these people are kayaking, but I was in a boat, and again, I'm just like, how this reminds me. Where was I? Oh gosh, I was close to Vancouver Island, but kind of in the inlets around there on a ferry, and it reminded me of that. And maybe that seems too similar to you, but as a Kiwi, I'm like, this is in New Zealand. So again, there's many ways to experience this, and if you are time short, I would recommend flying from Queenstown. Again, that can be fixed wing or that can be heli. But if you do have the time, there's an amazing little town called Te Anau, which is about 2 hours drive from Queenstown, and you can actually base yourself there and spend a couple of days exploring the different fjords that are in the vicinity. So again, amazing part of New Zealand, and it's like I said earlier, you kind of, time-wise, you stick to one island, or you kind of stretch yourself over both. It's that balance as to what you want to do and see and what's on your bucket list as such. And there's a lot on the bucket list, isn't there? I'm just going to really quickly touch on accommodation offerings. So as you can see, this kind of pops out all the different luxury lodges within New Zealand. And again, as I mentioned, there's a range of accommodations. So maybe you're all luxury, or maybe you're one night for a special night. But again, everywhere, basically, you choose to visit, there'll be something adequate. And this next video I want to play just talks about kind of showcases a range of the lodges alongside the experiences I offer. So I'll get that playing for you. This lake here is Te Anau, which I just talked about, which is part of that Fiordland National Park. Oh, Kim, press play. Sorry, guys. So that's a bit of a neat video just to kind of showcase, the range of options available there. I'm going to quickly move on to a few kind of graphic-y kind of maps. And as you all know, wine is prevalent throughout the whole country in a good way. So however you decide to shape your trip up, if you're 100% winey, of course you want to touch on those hotspots of Hawke's Bay and Marlborough and Central Otago. But if you are into wine, but it's not your key focus, be assured that everywhere you go, many places in New Zealand have a strong wine offering. So as you can see on this map here, there's wine everywhere. Some are stronger than others in terms of specific types. So Central Otago, Pinot Noir, Hawke's Bay, Sav. But really, it's you're gonna get a range of wine options from New Zealand on any menu throughout the country. So plenty of options here. Wildlife. As you can see again, they're great. I love these maps because they're so neat in terms of the graphics available. And again, as I mentioned, so if you are hugely into whales, even though you have quite a few of those where you are, but anyway, you would choose a couple of key locations, like Kokoda and the far north. But a bird which you might be more interested in, which you do not have, oh God, something's gone wrong if you do, is the Kiwi bird. So a lot of people say kiwi and they think about fruit. Or can you grab me a kiwi? And you're like, can't just come and grab people in this country. It's not okay. But the Kiwi bird is our national bird and it's flightless. So I don't know if he ever made his way to you, but there's a few places in New Zealand which have them in amazing, huge facilities where you can actually go and view them and learn their names and where they were found and how long they're spending in, I want to say rehab. It's not rehab. It's kind of like conservation, looking after them, getting them back fit and healthy until the time is right when you can release them again. So throughout the country, popular places for this is Rotorua, and then we come further down south on the west coast, and then also Stewart Island. So there's quite a few places within the country where you can view kiwis, not just the humans, Kiwi birds, and they're close to natural habitat. We really don't try and put them in zoos. We just don't do that. Any kiwi is kind of there because they're older and they're sick, or they wouldn't survive out in wild. But majority of the Kiwi bird efforts are to get them kind of to a point of health where they can be released back where they are found. So some pretty amazing work being done throughout the country, which is neat to be a part of. And often when you do go to these places, a lot of your entry fee goes to covering different conservation costs to help the Kiwi continue on. So there's some amazing businesses who are thinking outside the box in terms of what that visitor experience looks like and that contribution back to the future development. And I mentioned earlier, this is a pretty neat image of some hotspots in New Zealand. Hotspots meaning geothermal locations, geothermal areas where you'll have hot mineral pools. And it's actually quite bizarre where these locations are throughout the country. So again, as you can see, the North Island has quite a few, and it's just kind of the way, I guess, New Zealand kind of evolved. Where I'm from in Rotorua, plenty of hot spots. You're driving down the road and you'll see some steam coming out of an vent, but it's just kind of the natural way. There's a whole part of town which is heated by a geothermal. So incredible. But again, down here in like central South Island, you have some more geothermal spots, which of course make an amazing hot pool. So that's just a little touch on that for those of you who love soaking in hot pools and enjoying that kind of way of holiday. But I talk very fast, and so I hope I made sense. I didn't talk too fast. But if there are any questions, please feel free to ask away.
Oh, sorry, Julie. I don't think we're hearing you. I think we have a little bit of a delay. Maybe just the Wi-Fi has been down. So sorry about that. But I think we might. But that was Kim. That was fantastic. Oh my gosh, what a great overview! It's just amazing. And your little insights, the fact that you grew up there and you have all these little nuances and things. That's fantastic. I love it.
Oh, great. No, and I hope some of it made sense to you. And again, as I reiterated, it's so hard to kind of figure out that perfect length of time for you and what you want to accomplish, because there's so much to do. You nearly need to kind of have a few key ideas and locations you want to visit and then work around that area as to how that could work. So, yeah, we are a small country of 5 million, but we've got a lot to cover. So
absolutely. Yeah. And it's worth a visit for sure. Anybody, please, if you have any questions, please be sure to put them in the QA box or the chat. We're happy to get your questions answered. Kim, I'm just kind of wondering, can you give us an idea about what kind of a shore excursion you can do in Dunedin?
Dunedin, yes. Dunedin. So shore excursions, is that the Dunedin? Was that the?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Actually, there are a few options, and Dunedin is an amazing town. Amazing for so many different things, from kind of a bit of a cultural background through to the wildlife offering. So the albatross is an amazing part of Dunedin where you kind of drive, or you can hop on a boat, and you can have this a day-long experience on the waters of Dunedin where you kind of go past the albatross colony and see the big birds kind of doing their thing in the wind, and go further around the bay where you can kind of see little blue penguins, kind of running up the beach and finding their nest for the night. And also seals are further around the bay. So again, if anyone is into wildlife, Dunedin has amazing, ocean wildlife. It's just incredible, the range of even seals you'll see just Dunedin Kiwis just get used to them and just walk past the seals and it's all good. And I'm sure a lot of you do over there too. But for North Islanders who don't often see seals, it's quite a bit of what do we do here? So that's a kind of a great example of a bit of a day off excursion that you can have in Dunedin.
Oh, yeah, that sounds fantastic. And it sounds like a place, I know for myself, I love animals, that you'd want to spend a couple of nights if you could.
Yeah. Dunedin is really neat. It's got a really funky kind of like shopping scene / cafe. Like, I'm always amazed at how many coffee shops there are there, for how many people live there. It's got Larnach Castle, which is a famous castle, which New Zealand doesn't have many castles. We're quite a young country. So it's always very neat. And especially they've been busy with Kiwis this year, because Kiwis are like, oh my God, I can see a castle in New Zealand, so I need to go to Europe to see a castle. So it's a beautiful, beautiful town. And again, it's only probably 3 hours south of Christchurch, but not too far. And then 3 hours across to Queenstown. So it's all pretty close. It's just kind of, weighing out that driving time.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. And it's always nice exploring your own country. Sometimes you find these little gems that you don't realize are in your own backyard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Just another question here as well. If you can give us a few different ways that you can visit Milford Sound, either for the day or maybe overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. So Milford Sound is part of the Fiordland National Park. And so, as I mentioned, it's about a 5-hour drive from Queenstown. So if you have time, I would highly recommend driving and staying in a little town called Te Anau, 2 hours from Queenstown. Beautiful town, lake edge, just stunning. And from there, you can spend a couple of days doing different excursions, because Fiordland Doubtful Sound and Milford Sound are the two key fjords. So Milford Sound is the smaller of the two, and you can go on a boat excursion, you can kayak, you can get up and close with the waterfalls that we saw, whereas Doubtful Sound have an amazing experience where you can drive probably an hour and a half from Te Anau and hop on a boat, an overnight boat, and you can spend an overnight in Doubtful Sound, which I unfortunately haven't done yet, but it's an incredible, everyone is like, it's the most amazing. Kiwis this year have been like, I wish I knew this was in New Zealand sooner. It's an incredible experience. So again, for the time poor, I'd suggest you fly from Queenstown, either heli or fixed wing, and fly into Milford, out of Milford and back to Queenstown. That is a 6-hour round trip. If you have time and you want to kind of check out from Queenstown and cruise down to Te Anau, and you can go over to Invercargill, I would suggest staying in Te Anau for a couple of nights, and then you've got two options if you want to do one night on a boat or both nights in Te Anau. So depends on your time. Regardless, it's a bucket list, however you do it.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Gosh, it just sounds so amazing. And there's just so many options to partake in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have another question here from Doreen Ryan. She was just mentioning that, of course, Churchill had hosted the Commonwealth Games, and just wondering if the facilities are being used.
The Commonwealth Games, yeah, that was a few years ago. So I know that a lot of the rowing was back. I don't know a lot about all the facilities. Excuse me. Cambridge, though. Cambridge is where rowing really happens in New Zealand. And I know that those facilities have been used for the current kind of Olympians of the last few years to train in those facilities. I'm not too sure. I'm sure each region has kind of taken advantage of what was built and used those to the best degree. But the one I do know has continued is the rowing, which I think our first rower is at the Olympics tonight. So we're pretty excited to see how that turns out. We might have to have a competition against Canada, see who gets the most medals.
We might.
I think you have a larger pool of athletes there, but we are quite competitive, us Kiwis, especially when it comes to rugby and sailing. So, unfortunately, sailing's an Olympic sport. So,
yeah, very true. Yeah. Well, very true. Well, go New Zealanders, go Canada in the Olympics. Yeah. We'll cheer on all the countries.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just have another question here too. Wondering if you can kind of give us a little bit of the cultural activities that one can experience while they're in New Zealand, perhaps at the Maori village, or just some kind of a cultural experience that might be really worth for somebody to visit.
There's so many ways. So a lot of people, for example, in Rotorua, my hometown, you can kind of go into an evening experience. And what that looks like is kind of being welcomed on to the marae, which is behind me. Welcome onto the marae in a traditional sense. You do a hongi. I think that'll still be in place once COVID comes down, but let's see about that, which is where you press your noses. Maybe not. And then you kind of go in and you learn some songs. You get to learn some cultural songs. You do actions. You get the poise, which poi is like a fluff ball at one end, and you swing it around. She's got her hand there. You can see that's a poi.
Oh, yes, yes.
And then you will go and you'll learn about the hangi. So that's a meal that's cooked in the ground. So it's like a roast meal, but basically all kind of wrapped in tin foil, cooked. They dig a big hole. They put rocks, hot rocks under the food, put the food on top, cover it, and then put dirt back on top of it. And it's kind of like self-cooked in the ground. So it comes out totally clean. That you don't get potato with dirt, but it does taste smoky, which is incredible. So hangi is the meal. So you'll see actually them preparing the hangi, putting it in the ground. You go and learn a few awesome New Zealand songs, which you can take home and share, and then you'll come back and together as a group sit there, do a karakia, so a prayer which you have before dinner, and then enjoy that hangi meal. So that's just one way. Other ways are you can. There's another place in Rotorua called Whakarewarewa. It's quite a big word.
And I won't attempt to pronounce that.
Yeah. And there you'll go and you'll learn how traditionally back in the day Māori cooked. So that's using the hot water, the geothermal. So, for example, you'll get eggs, or you'll get, I say eggs funny, don't I? Kiwis say eggs funny. Eggs or corn, and you'll put that in the hot boiling water, basically, and just cook like that, which is how people still in these small villages do cook. And so just using the natural assets around you to experience that. So, yeah, there's definitely different ways.
How fantastic. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so great. Great. Well, thank you so much, Kim.
That's
It's been really enlightening. And, New Zealand, I haven't had the opportunity to visit before, and I know Julie has, and she loves it. And just, from today, it's really inspired myself to add you to the bucket list. I want to go. I want to check it all out. And thank you to everybody at home for joining us today, and really appreciate you taking some time and sharing in this amazing country. And we just thank you so much for tuning in. And Julie, sorry, your sound is a little wonky. Oh, you got to love technology, right? It's still lovely to see your beautiful face. So.
and yeah, thank you for having me. And again, thank you all for joining today. I know it's not a time that you can come to New Zealand next week, but we do appreciate you taking the time to learn for what your journey could look like when we can welcome you back. So thank you, ladies. Thank you, everybody. And enjoy your evening. I'll before lunch here, so I might go and get another coffee and keep on rolling.
Well, you have a great day, and everybody. Oh, Julie's got some wine. Oh, I'm jealous. I meant to do that as well. I meant to have a glass of wine. I'm going to do that right after.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.